So, per the New York Post, Hillary Clinton is now warning Democrats that the GOP's anti-communist platform will be a, quote, very effective attack moving forward this election season. Now, this is all coming out of the wake of Dr. Abdul El-Sayed, who just won his primary race for the Senate in Michigan. And, I kind of see this as Hillary Clinton kind of turning, I'm not going to say to the left here, but being a little bit more sympathetic than she has in the past, because she now probably realizes that that's what makes people popular. Now, a couple things here to talk about here. Who is this guy? Who is Dr. Abdul El-Sayed? What is Hillary Clinton doing commenting on this? And is this an actual concern moving forward? Now, first things first, this guy here by the name of Dr. Abdul El-Sayed, he's essentially like a Mamdani-like character. He's kind of like Bernie. He's kind of like an AOC, like Mamdani. He's very progressive. He wants a strong social safety net in this country. He says, maybe when they take tax dollars out of our paycheck every single month or every single 2 weeks, that maybe we should have, some stuff maybe be spent on Americans. Maybe Americans, like the American people themselves, and not just corporations or billionaires. And maybe this is just a suggestion. Maybe we don't send billions of dollars over to Israel. I'm just saying, right? But seems like a pretty reasonable guy to me. And I seen this guy just absolutely eviscerating. I think it was like a Fox News host or somebody like that. It was one of like the big legacy media companies out there, and he was just absolutely ranting and raving and going crazy with cold hard facts and the most serious monotone voice, just eviscerating their arguments with respects to, do you support Israel? And should we be sending our money to Israel? And dude, he was just not backing down. He did a Mamdani, and you know what? It ends up winning him election. So now he is the primary winner in the state of Michigan. So congratulations to him. But what I can tell you here is, what is Hillary Clinton? She makes a very noteworthy comment here, because it's something that I felt was overlooked in the media, but something that I think deserves some consideration, is that there's going to be a lot of attacks calling this guy communist and a socialist. Now, the question then becomes, is this an effective attack? And the answer to me is no. This is not an effective attack, because it's clearly not working. He just got elected over the other guy. And in addition to that, Mamdani also just got elected. Because I think once the media starts to pick up on the absurdity behind all these other politicians' actions, then we can have candidates like this and come to respect them and vote them into office repeatedly. And maybe we can make a positive change in America. But her sentiment that this is going to be a very effective attack kind of gives credence to the notion the other side may be right in some respects, and maybe it's somewhat effective, right? People hear the word socialist and communist, they kind of get their panties in a bunch, they start going crazy. But that's not the majority of the country anymore. I feel like the majority of people don't really resonate with that, because to them, they're like, all right, dude, how is this really? So this guy wants to give me healthcare, and he wants to make sure I have groceries. He wants to fill potholes in my state. How is this going to be how is this socialist? We're just spending money on things that actually help the people, as opposed to spending money on things that help billionaires and corporations and foreign entities that commit genocide. So this is, seems to me to be not that effective. But Hillary Clinton is coming together, and she's saying, it's going to be a very effective attack, this anti-communist thing. But one of the things that, is interesting about this sentiment here is, one, you could say, well, it backfires. It gives credence to the argument that maybe the other side is right. That's why it's effective, right? But in the same breath, she also goes on to say how the Democrats need to start working together, and they need to be prepared for these attacks, because I think she sort of recognizes now that the jig is up, and that over time, maybe not anytime soon, but maybe in the next 10 years and maybe the next 20 years, we're going to start to see a shift away from these corrupt politicians who are solely out for the benefit of their donors, and they're not out for the benefit of the actual American people. And this is only something that's becoming more and more pronounced as people like Mamdani have gotten into office, and he's been wildly successful because of it. So now you have Dr. Abdul El-Sayed, and you could say, well, can we criticize this guy? Well, the answer is, she's not really going to be able to. She's going to have to say, all right, instead, we're going to have to start working together. But we can't leave behind all the other people, like the centrists and the independents. No, we can't leave them behind, because they might feel aggrieved if we get a leftist candidate. I don't know. It's interesting. I don't really like her, so you can tell I'm a little bit biased here. And maybe it's not the worst comments in the world. In fact, I thought it was better comments than I would have ever seen from Hillary Clinton, who likes to play the game more than anyone. And shockingly enough, she's actually looking better than she did 10 years ago. I don't know if you guys remember this, right? It was like where the media was just lying to our faces. I don't know if you've seen Hillary Clinton. Literally, like there was one point she passed out in the street. She like fell down, just wiped out, and then they just like dragged her body into a van, and like nobody remembers this. And then it comes out, and they're like, oh, like it was this or that, and obviously there's the case of pneumonia, blah blah blah. Pretty sure it was pneumonia, it was something like that. And it's like just out of nowhere, like, come on, bro. What do you think? Do you think we're stupid here? And the media's gonna lie and say there's not anything going on, and they always say, oh, I'm perfectly healthy, this and that. I don't know, bro. Healthy people aren't passing out like that. Anyways, I don't know. I got to grief with Hillary Clinton, man. I don't know. I could tell. I could rant and rave all day. Maybe I'm getting a little bit sidetracked here. But it's a different world than it once was. But she's looking better than she did 10 years ago. I can tell you that. Looks a little bit more youthful. You can tell that's what happens when you get money in this country. You can sort of de-age yourself a little bit. Maybe not fully, but a little bit. Still looking old, but a little bit younger. Probably has a little bit less stress now that she's out of the limelight. But who knows? Maybe she's trying to climb her way back in at some point. And if she ever did, let me tell you what, I think that she might actually stand a reasonable chance this upcoming election season. Obviously, she's got the whole legacy, I guess, just complex of just corruption behind her. And that goes a long way, man. That goes a long way. And, she was not successful in the past, but now Trump is so bloody bad that maybe she would be successful moving forward. Now, I don't want to see her as the person, but I think if it's her or Kamala Harris, which is what everybody's touting, oh my God, Lord help us if that's the person, then maybe we need to see Hillary come back, and I don't like her at all. But, it's really interesting when you think about who's going to be elected for this next election cycle. And I've always said that I think we're probably going to end up seeing like AOC and somebody else run. Who that is, I have no idea. And do I think that AOC could win? Maybe. Probably not. It's most likely not. I think that she would need a very strong running mate. She could maybe win as a vice president or president if she had a very strong running mate. But at the end of the day, man, this country, it's gone downhill quite a bit. And it's very unfortunate that people hear the term communist or socialist and they start to fright away. It's always it's socialism when you look at Venezuela and you look at a slum over there, but it's not socialism when you look at, but it's not capitalism when it's a slum in like Detroit, for example. Food for thought, ladies and gentlemen. But what I can tell you is that like the whole anti-communist sentiment, like that's just sort of been dead, I think, in large part, probably since the collapse of the Soviet Union, officially. And I'd probably say mid-90s, it's probably been fully dead in the water. This idea here that we got to be in like some crazy Cold War, and that the communists are gonna come over and they're gonna seize your property, and they're gonna take over your jobs, they're gonna make you do things you don't want to do, and blah 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 blah, and like you're gonna have no freedoms and no rights, you're gonna be living in a police state, and blah 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 blah. At the end of the day, a lot of this stuff is authoritarianism, and that's already happening on our own shores. Right, things like the flock camera debate recently, which has been going absolutely wild. Things like the Patriot Act, where people are spying on you and all your devices. So in large part, some of this has already been here. And there's nothing that we can almost do about it besides, I guess, rise up and try to get these politicians out of office and have a revolution in this country. But with respects to the whole communist socialist debate, people can't even define it. They just hear the words and they go a little crazy. But I think that it's more so that those people are always going to go crazy, less than... and it's not the fact that it's necessarily the most effective thing for a lot of people who are more towards the middle on either side of the aisle, right? I think that's the qualitative distinction there. Now, people could say I'm crazy for saying that, and maybe this is an effective strategy in some parts. I know some people hear that term, they lose their mind, but they don't even know what it is anyways. And hey, doesn't mean it's not effective, but what I can tell you is it's becoming less and less effective over time. And the Democrats, as Hillary Clinton says, and she's right about this part, they do need to start working together. So I don't want to see people giving credence to this argument that this is going to be effective, because that just sort of gives validation to the other side. But they do need to start working together, because clearly what we're doing now is not cutting it. I mean, you got the whole cult, the Trump cult going on. I mean, the guy's selling insider information online now for $100,000 a month on his Truth Social. You can get early access to his Truth Social post where he tweets about stocks and trading information for For $100,000 a month, you can get access to that. In what world is this a president that you want to follow and lead your country? Not a world that I want to live in. Well, I don't want to die anytime soon, but I can tell you this. I want to see a different outlook for our future. I can tell you that. Now, I don't know. It's crazy times, guys, but we could rant and rave all day with respect to a story like this. Shout out to the doctor who won. Hopefully he's going to win the actual race here. I suppose we'll see moving forward. But if you guys did enjoy the video here, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more content. My name is Dr. Ian Phillips, your political analyst. You can follow me on social media at Ian Phillips USA. Thank you so much for watching, guys. We're trying to get up to 600 subscribers here. So laid back video today, but I don't know. I've been feeling adjusting the circadian rhythm. So we'll see. But anyways, guys, we'll talk to you later. Peace.